your host Ian, and on today's show, you know what? We just get trashed and drunk in certain episodes. You've probably noticed it at this point. So we're just gonna call those episodes the shooting the shit episodes. So today, we're just gonna shoot the shit. So let's meet our couch co-hosts and get right to it.
Yeah, geez. Cameraman Aaron.
Now to the couch co-hosts.
Hey.
I'm joined again. If you haven't figured this out yet, we shoot 2 shows in a night. So I'm joined by the same 2 guests from the last episode, Jarrod and Dave.
Hello.
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 Anyway,
I say, little Philly.
I don't know if it's come to you guys' attention, but it generally seems that every other episode of our program, the last one of that gets batshit crazy because of drinking. So I've decided that perhaps instead of topics, we'll just
Drink?
We'll drink. Yeah, well.
Well, that's usually why I downgrade to a lesser beer.
But
That also tastes okay.
we're just going to shoot the shit, I think. And that's what we're going to start calling these types of episodes. The shoot the shit episodes. So we're just going to talk about video games and blah, 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 blah. So I guess
I do.
So I guess something that we used to do on the show and we kind of do in the podcast, I guess. Because Jarrod and I do a podcast. If you want to talk about that, the podcast. Talk about the podcast really quick, Jarrod.
Well, our podcast is much more laid back than this. On the show here on YouTube, we can get kind of loud and rambunctious because we're drinking and just a bunch of people. But on the podcast, it's just Ian and I. Just we pick a topic and BS about our game history and talk about a certain topic every week. And
I don't think it's laid back. I think it's mellow.
I think
we're pretty laid back right now.
Yeah, we're always pretty laid back.
I think it's more mellow.
Mellow is a good choice of words, but yeah, it's really laid back. I mean, we're not like a huge news site or anything like that. We just talk about our gaming experiences. We recently updated our format a little bit, so the most recent episode that just went up Monday, the format's changed a little bit. I think we're trying to develop it into what our fans might want. Nobody's really commenting on.
So maybe we're going to try and steal
want.
some.
So we're just kind of doing
viewers,
what we think people want.
Get some viewers to listen, I guess is what we're saying. So Jarrod, where can they find the podcast?
They can go to the couchcooppodcast.podbean.com
And
iTunes. You can search for the Couch Co-op Podcast. Ian might put it somewhere right down here, right down there,
right here,
and maybe on my face. He might even put it at weird angles or something. I don't know what kind of editing techniques he has.
And I believe there's an email address as well to the podcast.
Yes,
It looks something like this.
Yeah, it took a long time, but it's the Couch Co-op Show at gmail.com.
All right, are you done?
And there's no hyphens or anything. It's just all one word. The Couch Co-op Show.
Are you done plugging your show now?
At podcast.
Are you done plugging your show now? On my show?
Podcast.
All right.
You heard me. And he's gonna put it right around here or here. I don't know where he's looking. But
so what do you guys?
I'm looking at you.
So what do you guys been playing? Video games. What do you guys been playing, Jarrod? What have you been playing this week?
This week I've been moving and really wishing that I had a Vita.
You're still moving?
I'm still moving. It's such a I got into a point where I have to be out by the end of the month, but I've already moved into my other place, so we're just kind of taking our time. We got a garage sale coming up this weekend, and
so you've been playing Box Folding Champion and
yes,
Stacking
Box
Champion.
Folding Champion. I did pull up Rayman Legends
again
because they have challenges every single day and every week. You know, there's 7-day challenge and a 1-day challenge, and I dove into those because they're a hell of a lot of fun.
Dig out some really awesome old games that you hadn't played for years that were lying at the back of the closet or whatever.
I did make sure that my Nintendo still worked, my NES, because it was still plugged into the TV upstairs, and I still have Zoda's Revenge plugged in. Star Tropics.
Ooh, you left the cartridge plugged into that thing.
The cartridge, well, I didn't have it on, but the cartridge is still in the system.
But it's still like in the low point.
Yeah, it still works.
Oh, man.
He just got that game, though. He just got that game not too long ago.
Yeah, so it still works, luckily, but the TV is still as horrible as ever because all the the contrast is messed up, so you can't see most of the level as you're going by.
Do you need a big tube TV? I can get you one.
I have. Well, I'm
A
using
better
the
one?
lesser. This one's gonna go in the garage sale,
Oh, I see.
but there's a better one. It's a 25-inch Sharp,
Oh, okay.
which is amazing. Not really, but
Is it my old TV?
no, you did have a Sharp though.
What have you been playing, Davey?
Well, I have to say, following our last episode, I've been playing a lot of Rocksmith, and it is awesome.
What are you playing? What songs?
I've been playing a lot of Red Fang.
Red Fang.
Since Ian introduced me
At
last week.
game night, I introduced them, and they're like, "Oh, there's this song. You should play this song. This song's awesome." And we played it, and then I guess he's.
But I
hooked
just
now.
go around and like play.
So
I play Jarvis Cocker, Angela, and there's a few other songs, and I'm starting to get the odd 100%, get into master mode, and it's just.
So
It's
can you just play
really
him now
rewarding.
and without you play him pretty well
you should
without it?
grab one of the guitars.
No,
over there
if I
and,
picked up a guitar now, I would not be able. I'm not quite.
you have to
there,
watch
but
the
I'm getting
notes on the
close.
screen.
It's more the backing tracks just to
Yeah.
keep.
Okay.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, the
I've got the
tempo
like
and-
little sections down, but the whole like 4 minutes, I get the sections confused and stuff.
How much of that do you play a day? You think?
I play it probably half an hour every other day, so it's not a big time commitment right now because unfortunately I've just been busy the last
Yeah.
week or two. But I try and at least get half an hour in when I sit down to play it, and then I'm really enjoying. There's a kind of like Streets of Rage Double Dragon kind of beat 'em up game where you play scales,
Oh, really?
That's cool.
and it's really freaking awesome.
That sounds
That's
pretty
great.
rad.
I'm really enjoying that, so I play that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it has this arcade mode where and they're all based on kind of like classic Atari 2600, early Nintendo arcade game type things, and they're all practicing. There's one called Ninja Sliding where you got to slide from bar to bar, and the little ninja cuts through. It's
That
really
sounds
good
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
And it really gets you into the mode of not looking down at the guitar when you're sliding. You're looking at the screen and going fret 2, fret
That's
7.
smart. That's
and
smart.
it's
Yeah.
Did the first
they keep you busy.
first Rocksmith have that, or is this something?
It did have some, but then they just seem a lot more polished and a lot more fun.
Mhm.
Like there's one that reminds me of an old Namco arcade game. I don't remember the name of it right now, but it was a 3D on rails shoot 'em up where you could control. And I remember seeing in the arcade there was an 8-player version of it with a massive screen. But basically, whenever you see the spaceship, you play the chord, and you play the chords and the spaceship. You shoot the spaceships basically.
Oh, I had no idea they had
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I gotta
Yeah.
watch you play that sometime.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that actually.
It's
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot of fun, and it's really. I'm finding it really engrossing. I have to say, the only drawback to that game is it doesn't have a counter that tells you how long you've been playing it for. Because I'd really love to know that I've played that game for 40 hours. And I have no doubt that I have played it for 40 hours and probably a lot more. But
Right.
that's the one thing it's missing is that if it just had a game timer, it's a really simple thing, and it would just like.
As gamers, do you like having games like, in general, knowing how much of a time sink a game has been? Like in Skyrim, knowing that I've sunk like 200 hours into a game, do like, wow, that's 200 hours of my life. I
love having that kind of thing. There's several trackers online where you can get an application for like your PC gaming or whatever, and a lot of them track your Xbox Live gaming if you're online. But I haven't used those for a long time because I switched mainly to PlayStation, and most of the websites couldn't support PlayStation because the network infrastructure is such a pain in the butt for them to track. But it would have been great. Maybe I should look into it. Maybe it's actually been perfected where it can actually track every game you play and how long you play it and all that. That was a really cool feature, and I do enjoy seeing how much time I spend in games.
Well, I was sick this past weekend, and so I pulled out a couple of old games that I hadn't played in a while. One I played a little bit and it just sat on, and I put away in my library forever. So I bought Just Cause 2 like I don't know how long ago, and I just felt like I don't know, I was kind of in a mood for something. Maybe because we were talking about open world games and stuff in a couple last episodes, so I thought, oh, and you keep telling me
I've been telling you should go through
just
it.
go through it. And so I pulled it out, and man, I just did not remember how big that world was and how fun it is actually. I don't know what just kept me from not playing it. because I like Gorilla, Red Faction Gorilla, and I like Saboteur. I know Dave was a big fan of that game too, and this game is right up in that same kind of alley. It's like it is a complete sandbox, whereas like Grand Theft Auto, I feel not completely. It's a sandbox game, but it's not as sandboxy as like some of these other things you can do. And so I was playing that, and then I was messing around in the menus, and I noticed that it had a video capture mode in it. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize that. So like, if you are on our Facebook page, I posted it does 10-minute chunks. So I captured a 10-minute chunk, and as it's capturing, it doesn't, no lag to the system or anything. I'm just flying around, blowing up stuff, and I was recording it flying at night. It's like a sunset. It's really beautiful, and then it goes dark, and then I fly down to the water, and as I get down to the water, then it's lightning.
That's
it's
cool.
It's like, why is this? This game's really awesome. How come I never played this? I've had it for years, and I've just started now playing this. So now I'm like really into it. And so that's kind of, I'm just kind of into that game right now.
That kind of game is really hard to get into because you have no idea how much time you're actually going to spend in it. And
right.
You and I, we usually have pretty big game libraries built up, and we're just like, okay, we got to kind of shuffle through these and manage our time a little better. And
it's a time sink. It's one of those games that I'm just going to like, how much time have I?
Speaking of time management, Dave and I are the only ones so far on the show that have children. And that's been really hard to manage our game time.
Children that we know of.
Yeah, that we know of. Mr. Ian here.
I know I don't have children.
Okay. But
I have these kids. What are you talking about?
It's much harder to find time to throw at a sandbox like that,
Ian,
where you can just mess around for hours and hours and hours.
Wouldn't surprise me. But
that could be an interesting story.
I know. That's a whole other episode.
Are you going to tell that story right now?
No. So one thing I want to talk about is, and something new I want to start doing. Jarrod and I have already talked about this, so if you want to hear about our video game origins, you'll have to go check out the podcast that Jarrod was talking about earlier. But Dave, since he's new, and he's going to be the first guinea pig on this, I guess, I just kind of, what got you into video games? Like, what was your first console, and kind of what got you into video games?
Yeah, you have to think way back.
Aaron got him into video games.
So,
yeah,
way back, my father was a high school science teacher, and back in the UK they had these computers called BBCs, and the high school he taught at was a little rough, so you couldn't leave the computer at the school for the summer. You had to bring it home, so he brought home a BBC, and it used to use the 5 1/4-inch discs, and he had a couple of games for it, but one that I always remember was Chucky Egg, and it was very simple. It was kind of like Donkey Kong. There were a couple of eggs on the screen and platforms with ladders, and you jumped around, and basically you avoided the chickens that were walking back and forth. And so you had to get all the eggs. And so I played that for a whole summer. I don't remember how old I was, but I think it was probably 6 or 7. And then shortly thereafter, my parents bought me an Amstrad CPC 464.
Yeah, and you were talking about that last game night, and you were showing videos of that. That thing is kind of nuts.
It's great. I mean, it had 64K, and it was the one I had. Unfortunately, had a green screen monitor, but it did come with a device that was about yay big that would allow you to connect it to a TV, and you could have color on the TV. But for some reason, the device would overheat after about 15 minutes, and the colors would all go wavy, so it was pretty useless. But we played a lot of games on that. I mean, you used to get most of the arcade games. Like, I remember Bubble Bobble, I played a lot of New Zealand Story.
No, I was surprised, because when you showed us that YouTube videos, like, it was a pretty, Nintendo-like-ish.
And then I had a friend who had a Nintendo, but before him, there was another friend of mine who had an Atari 2600, and we spent many hours playing Asteroids, and then what was the 2-player biplane game where you hid behind the clouds?
Planes.
Was it Planes?
Oh no, I think it's.
It was like a 1 in 20 cartridge.
No, so and mine, I think it's just called Tanks Plus. Mm-hmm. And then you go tanks, biplanes.
Yes.
Jets, and then it cycles back.
That's the one. Yeah, it's got like 20 different variations where you big jet, small jet,
Oh no,
medium-sized
three
jet,
jets and one big jet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm
Yes.
talking about, and then the bullets bounce off the walls or
This
don't
is-
bounce
Yeah.
off the walls.
Oh, I love
This is
that.
this is the
Things.
one. Okay, so I almost lost my Atari 2600 in a garage sale. So this is why we're shooting the shit right now. This is what. So I got it at a young age. Nintendo came, and then something else came, and so my dad was having an Atari a garage sale, and the Atari 2600 was out, plugged into this black and white TV in the garage, so people could play it, and me and someone else just played it the entire time while we were in the garage. We'd be like, oh, hello, and then people would come in, and I would get like kind of antsy that because it had a price tag, and like they could buy it, and at some point it's just like, I was like, I don't know how I was like in middle school, I guess, but I was like, I don't want to sell this. I want to take it home.
Did you get all teary-eyed?
So yeah, I wasn't sad, but I was like,
Oh.
it was actually a lot of fun, and every once,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I think that's the moment. That's probably the moment I became a video game collector.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I didn't know it, it's probably that moment that's like, there's still fun in this, even though there's better things out there. But I'm sorry to interrupt you. But
No, I don't have much of that history left. I remember one of my favorite games for the Amstrad was a game called American Werewolf. No, it wasn't American Werewolf in London. It was Werewolves of London. And the aim of the game was to wander around London and find the 7 crosses of the family that had turned you into a werewolf and eat them.
Yeah.
And if you eat the wrong people, the police would chase you, and it was totally random. I don't think I ever completed that game.
But the police were okay if you ate the right people?
No, they still came after you, and you'd end
Okay.
up in prison. But you could break into the prison and leave a nail file or like a
Yeah.
file under the bed, so that when you got put in prison, you could file the bars off the window and get back out
Yeah.
again. So it was, you had the full moon, and it was all kind of real timey.
That's cool.
And then there was another game, and it was called. Actually, I don't remember what it was called, but it was a missile defense simulator. It's kind of like Star Wars, but it wasn't SDI. It was High Frontier. That was it, and it was a game whereby you built up a Star Wars-esque missile defense, and it didn't matter what you did and whether you chose hawks or doves as the leaders. It always ended in a nuclear war, and it was just like how many million people died. But that was a game that I really enjoyed.
I'll ask both you guys. Maybe we'll start with Jarrod. What is it about video games you think that has kept you playing them for so long? What is it for you?
I think it just has a lot to do with the being entertained. I like to be entertained, like
But
a
not
good chunk
passively?
of the day. Yeah, I mean, it just gives me something to do. It's like there's people that only smoke cigarettes like everywhere they go, and I'm like, I would like to play a video game. It's not an addiction.
Oh, well, that could be argued.
Hey, I haven't gotten to play for a week, and I'm cool.
Okay. Dave?
I've always found them fun and challenging. I've always been rather particular to, especially as I've got older, kind of the strategy games, the Command and Conquers, the XComs, those kind of games where it's a little slower paced. Either that or or just a game that has like a great story, like Mass Effect or those kind of games, Metal Gear Solid. Those are what I've really enjoyed.
That's definitely what it's developed into, is a lot of the stories. But back in like the old days when story wasn't really part of games, you're just going through it, and yeah, a lot of it was due to the challenge and having fun with it, and the different effects that they were doing and kind of fun that they threw in it.
For me, I find it's weird because I've had a lot of different hobbies. I'm a really big comic book fan, and I'm really into movies. I'm a filmmaker, but I feel like lately my video game thing is just really kind of, especially this past generation, I guess, with the PS3 and stuff, it just really has taken off, and like buying, I don't know what it is about it. I guess I really like the entertainment value of it, but I feel like it's not like, I don't know. I couldn't actually say why, I guess. It's like a movie, but I feel like it's like not passive entertainment, I guess. I'm doing something and I feel like I'm achieving something in some kind of...
I play more games than I do watch movies.
Yeah, see, I used to watch more movies, and I feel like now I play so much more video games than I do.
I don't
Which is
watch many
odd.
movies. I'd
is
rather
weird.
play a game than watch a movie.
What So just now that we're on this kind of, what is your guys' all-time favorite video game?
I'll give you one guess.
XCOM?
Is that really?
XCOM.
Oh, okay. you got it in one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember playing that in the mid '90s on the Amiga and the PC, and Terror from the Deep, and that game just blew me away. It was so difficult. It was like a random death simulator. Sometimes you guys would come out the back of the plane and they just get annihilated, and then other times you'd be great. But there's just something so different and so challenging about that game, and they did a really good job on the remake. They kept all the good parts, and they didn't ruin it.
Didn't water it down, or
Yeah, it still had that highly strategic kind of gameplay that the original had, and the only thing was you did lose the random death simulator out of the back of the airplane,
Right.
but that was probably for the best.
Right. Is there just a certain game of that series you prefer the most?
It's got to be the original one or the remake, because they both follow the same story, and it was just the story was tighter. I really liked in the original that you started off and there were these UFOs and you didn't know much about them, and then as the game developed you found more and more, and then you eventually attacked the base on spoiler alert, attacked the base on Mars, and
It's always
wiped them out.
Mars. It's always Mars.
But the other thing I liked about the original that I think was slightly better was that you could have multiple bases around the world, and that would affect how quickly you could respond to the threat, but also that the aliens would attack your bases, which they don't do in the new version, unfortunately. And it kind of gave it more of a like war footing. In the new version, you're kind of invincible. You can just keep recruiting soldiers, and as long as you got money to buy weapons, you're good.
When was the last time you played those old versions?
I played them probably about 2006, 2007.
It's
I
not
went
super
back.
long ago, but
Not super long ago, but long ago, yeah.
do you think they would stand? I mean, they stand up fairly well. Do you think today, or
Yeah.
because it's. I mean, I know what the XCOM games are. They're it's kind of like a tabletop game, but it's like playing out in front of you in this kind of animated.
I think I think the game mechanics haven't actually changed that much between the latest one and the original, so I think they hold up really well. It's kind of, the graphics are a little clunky, but the depth of play actually on the original ones is probably a little bit deeper than the new ones. They kind of simplified a few things, and I think
just made it a little more accessible.
yeah, they made it a little more accessible.
That game,
I don't think in a bad way. It's just
Yeah.
that game's obviously did really well. I mean, it got a Game of the Year nominations. They're obviously probably going to make a sequel to it. What would you like to see? Done.
Do you want to see that feature come back?
well, that was always the hard part, because I played most of the sequels to the originals, because they rolled on through the 90s, early 2000s, and I always found that they even made. I remember playing Terror from the Deep, and there were some missions on that, which was the second XCOM game, that it was just too large a map. It would take you hours to, and there'd be one little alien hiding in the corner.
Oh God.
That's kind of a pain in the
Which
ass.
you don't suffer from in the new one, but I honestly don't see where they can take it to make it. It's a very tight game as it is, and unless they do more of the same, I can't see how they can really improve on it.
Do you think maybe if they tighten the story or something, or
They could do a cool story, and
but you don't really. You think it'll just be more of the same?
pretty much.
Like,
I mean, the
would
game.
you buy it if it's just more of the same?
Well, I'm probably gonna buy
Oh, the expansion.
the expansion, and I'm thinking about buying the Bureau just because.
Well, that's like a first-person shooter, though, isn't it?
I'm not sure, but I'm
First,
thinking.
I think
I'm
it is
waiting
something
for it
like
to
that.
go down to $20, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy it because.
Just
Yeah.
because it's XCOM. You're not
Yeah.
gonna. I know I bet, but
It's the
just
Bureau,
for the
isn't
sake of the people out there, I mean, this is a game that's kind of tailored for the iPad. Do you have it for the iPad, or any plans to get it for the iPad?
I do not want to get it for the iPad because that would suck me in. It would be like the iPad would just go,
Yeah.
See,
and then I'd be like, you See me
Dave-
again in a week.
But Dave, while your child is watching some kind of weird cartoon on television, you could just be.
I've already played that game through like 4 times now, I think it is, and if not more. It takes like 20 hours of playthrough, so I'm kind of...
All right.
At your limit.
Jarrod, favorite game all time?
It's so hard to pick one favorite game.
But it's gotta be one
I'm
that
gonna have to name a few, like Super Nintendo.
come on. There's gotta be one that
Super
defines
Nintendo
you.
era.
There's got to be one that defines who you are and that you will. If you come on, Dave did it. I can do it. I can do
Okay,
it.
number 1 would have to be The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and then Super Metroid and Final Fantasy 3.
And Dave farts.
And that was a wonderful fart. I felt that
Dave
one.
just poo-pooed on your choice.
Yes, you don't agree with my decision here.
I can't say I've ever been taken by the Zelda games, but go ahead.
No, tell us why. What is it about it?
Well, Link has never really been anybody because he doesn't talk or anything. It's just you kind of get put in his shoes and you get to adventure and explore this grand world. And I've just always enjoyed the are you wafting that out of your face
I know.
now?
I smell something. No?
I've always found those Link games really boring, but that's
Oh
just
wow!
me.
Look at Dave.
It's not his cup of tea. So
Okay.
It ain't my cup of
I don't
tea.
remember Jarrod shitting on XCOM.
I didn't shit on it. I played it for like an
That's
hour.
because it's the greatest game ever.
And my
What's
brain
not the
can't
greatest game ever?
enhance itself to the level of our Dave here, so I didn't complete it. But I didn't dislike it. It's just not my type of
Zelda.
game.
Let's go with Zelda.
But yeah, I enjoy the
Zelda.
adventuring and upgrading your sword and your
Link to the
tunic
Past is
and
what on Super Nintendo?
Link to the Past. Yeah, Super Nintendo. But
I
yeah,
never
I
played that
just
one.
really love
Yeah.
that game. It has the normal light world and then it has the dark world. So you essentially have 2 maps and they're huge to explore back in the Super Nintendo days. And that game just blew me away. I have no idea how many times I played through it. It's uncountable. It's so many times. I even bought that on the Wii when I had that, and they released it on the Wii, of course, for the marketplace they had.
So do you love all of the Zelda games? I mean, are you just de facto Zelda lover?
I do love Legend of Zelda, and I would love to own a Wii U someday if they ever release a new Legend of Zelda game, but I didn't play Majora's... Well, I played a little bit of Majora's Mask, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. And I played most of the Game Boy ones. I didn't play any of the 3DS ones that came out because I don't have a 3DS. The second one that came...
Skyward Sword?
Yeah, Skyward Sword. I didn't play that. I explained that in a past episode, but I didn't have much money back then, so I couldn't afford...
Is that the one with Tinkle?
No, Tingle.
Tingle, sorry.
Is in
Tingle. My
all
bad.
of them from
I like
the
Tinkle.
N64 and up, and he's that green pansy-looking dude. He's annoying. I don't know why Nintendo...
Seriously, my
that,
last...
that has to be something that Shigeru Miyamoto just has this infatuation for, is this weird little fairy goofy guy. I don't know why he puts him in every game. It's just weird.
I'm going to be kind of on here with Dave. I've never been a huge Zelda fan.
I've always loved Legend of Zelda.
I've never...
Ocarina of Time's the best.
The only one I've ever played, honestly, is the second Nintendo one.
And I
Adventures
love
of
that
Link.
one. A lot of people
Which is
hate
good.
on it,
It's a
and
good game.
I love that
I
game.
liked it, but
They're not bad games.
it didn't
but-
do anything for me. And I have Zelda and Adventures of Link. I
Me
never
too.
played anything past those games. I'm just...
One of my favorite handheld ones was the Minish Cap. It was very similar to the same style as Link to the Past. And this cap
I never bought
always
into...
talked to you, so it was kind of funny.
I never really bought into those Nintendo franchises, I guess. I am indifferent to Mario Brothers.
Did you ever play Super Metroid?
No.
No.
I played the first Metroid. I love the first Metroid, but I just...
Well,
Not enough.
Actually,
Metroid,
no, I
the
tried to
original
play
is
that.
amazing, but the Super Metroid, that's still on like way top of my list. A lot of Super Nintendo games are my like top of list because that was like my video game.
And you don't have a
prime
Super Nintendo,
time.
and you don't have these
Yeah.
games.
I used to.
I
Why
missed-
would you
I
get
missed
rid of
out
your?
on
Why
the
would you get
Super
rid of your?
Nintendo,
Why
so-
would you get rid of your favorite games, Jared?
so I could afford the next new games.
So you could buy a Wii.
No, that was so I could buy a PS3 and an
Oh.
Xbox 360.
Well, you got rid of your Wii.
Yeah, I
And
gave
your
my Wii
360.
away. Well, as I was explaining on Skyward Sword, back then I really didn't have the money to buy the game and this new attachment I had to connect into the Wii controller. So I was
Right.
just like, why did you do this to me again, Nintendo? You made me buy the RAM pack for the Nintendo 64, and I was pissed at you then. Now you're making me buy a new edition for my controller just so I can play the next Zelda. See ya. So
what
I
was the
haven't
last
touched Nintendo since
really original Nintendo game you played?
that. Original Nintendo
Like
game?
there wasn't like Zelda 5,000,000,001.
I don't.
Or
What did they
Mario
have an
Kart.
original title? The last original title they released was like Pikmin, wasn't it? And they're up to 3 now. I didn't play any of the Pikmins. I played a demo of one of them.
I don't even know what that
Smash
is.
Brothers was.
I don't respect.
Yeah, and that was
Well,
back on N60.
Yeah,
Did they
Smash-
have? Well, no. What was that one on the Wii U that I played a demo of? The Wonderful 101.
Well, I guess that's only on their console, but is that their game?
I don't know if they made it or not,
I don't know
but
if they made that. That's a good game, though. It's fun.
as I mentioned on the podcast, Nintendo really needs to use ideas from other companies because
But no,
they keep
do.
trying so hard to be completely original, but they're just running out of ideas. And they're what? How many freaking Marios can they release
I
on
don't-
every system?
I don't really think.
Countless.
I think the problem is that they designed a console this generation that didn't compete power-wise. These new ones, and I think it's going to hinder any third-party support because third parties don't want to make weaker games. They want to make these PC games that are on the consoles and PCs that are at this power level. They don't
Yeah.
want to make another game and develop something brand new.
No,
I think if the Wii U had been at about the same power as the other consoles, they would have got the same third-party support.
Which a lot of people would say, no, it's because their numbers aren't very high. But the original Wii sold so many units, but no third-party publishers would actually really want to support them much because
Well,
they
that was
had
all
to
the gimmick.
completely downgrade the game to actually fit it on the system.
And their
which-
gimmick didn't work this time. that's
yeah,
all.
the gimmick didn't work this time, and it's really underpowered, and nobody wants to develop it. A, because nobody owns the system,
I
and
guess
B, because they'd have to downgrade it more.
Wow, we're already at the crazy. We just
So we're just
stop?
BSing, so we're having a lot of fun.
I just started up again.
no, it's fine. Wow, we made it through. My favorite game is Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, what's your favorite game?
Metal Gear
Ian?
Solid 2. I will
Metal
I'll
Gear
talk about
Solid
some-
2.
Wait,
I'm trying to
we can
avoid.
do a
I'm
free
trying to
episode.
avoid ever talking about my favorite game. Anyway, guys, thanks for being on the show again. It's very awesome. Sweet. Cheers. We did it.
Yeah, well done.
Whew. That was pretty awesome. Just bullshitting with your friends, playing video games. Nothing better. So I hope you enjoyed this type of episode. I think there's going to be more of these types of episodes. Get a hold of us, youtube.com/MilkManPictures. Subscribe, leave us comments, let us know. Like Jarrod mentioned earlier in the episode, check us out on our podcast in iTunes, Podbean. Just search us, the Couch Co-op Podcast. So yeah, we're here for you. Audio, video, visual overload. We'll see you next time. From the couch, I'm Ian. That was really bad.